Lady Louise Windsor has just reached one of the most important moments of her young life. At 22, she has graduated from the University of St. Andrews, stepped out of the protected world of university, and entered a future that remains almost completely unwritten. She could pursue a private career, she could explore military service, she could continue the carriage-driving tradition passed down by Prince Philip, or one day she could become part of the working monarchy. But just as Louise reached that crossroads, an explosive royal claim began spreading online. According to the story, Queen Elizabeth II quietly left some of her most deeply personal treasures to Lady Louise, objects connected not to the crown's public power, but to the Queen's private life, her horses, her family, and the memories she protected away from the cameras. And the rumor goes even further. It claims those gifts proved Louise had been the Queen's favorite grandchild. It claims Queen Camilla's family had been deliberately left outside the royal legacy. And it claims anger was now growing behind palace doors. It is an extraordinary story. But there is one detail that changes everything. The document capable of proving it has never been made public. Before we go deeper, please subscribe to the channel. We examine the stories surrounding the royal family while separating documented history from royal speculation presented as certainty. To understand why this rumor became so powerful, you first have to understand Lady Louise. She was born on November 8, 2003, the elder child of Prince Edward and Sophie, now the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Under long-standing royal rules, Louise could have used a princely style as a male-line grandchild of the monarch. But from childhood, she was publicly known as Lady Louise Windsor. Her parents made a deliberate choice. They wanted Louise and her younger brother James to grow up understanding that they would probably need careers outside full-time royal service. That decision shaped almost everything that followed. Louise was connected to the monarchy, but she was not raised at its operational center. She attended family occasions, appeared at major ceremonies, and remained in the line of succession. But she did not grow up with a public schedule of patronages, speeches, and independent engagements. Today, the official line of succession places her 17th, immediately after her brother James and before Princess Anne. That position gives Louise royal significance, but it does not make her a working royal. And perhaps that balance is exactly what made her relationship with her grandparents different. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip had older grandchildren whose lives were already shaped by publicity, succession, and constitutional expectation. Prince William carried the burden of being a future king. Prince Harry grew up as the younger son of the heir. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie lived under intense media attention because of their father's position. Louise arrived much later. By the time she was born, the Queen and Prince Philip were grandparents with decades of experience behind them. The pressure surrounding Louise was different, and her childhood reportedly included more private time with them at Windsor and Balmoral. That may explain the warmth often associated with their relationship. But warmth is not the same as an official declaration of favoritism. The claim that Louise was Queen Elizabeth's favorite grandchild originated largely through unnamed royal sources and magazine commentary. The Queen never issued a ranking of her grandchildren. No authentic letter has appeared naming Louise her favorite, and private affection cannot be measured simply by which relative appears in the most emotional story. What is far better documented is Louise's connection with Prince Philip through carriage driving. This was not a symbolic hobby created for royal photographs. Prince Philip helped develop competitive carriage driving in Britain after stepping back from polo. He competed for decades and treated the sport with real seriousness. Louise learned the discipline while her grandfather was still alive. She later competed at the Royal Windsor Horse Show, continued working with carriages, and developed a reputation for taking the sport seriously rather than treating it as a ceremonial performance. Following Prince Philip's death in April 2021, multiple reports stated that Louise would take responsibility for his dark green carriage and fell ponies. In 2026, she was still publicly associated with the green carriage, the ponies, and the Royal Windsor Horse Show tradition. That connection is meaningful. Philip did not simply leave behind an expensive vehicle. He left behind a skill, a routine, and a deeply personal part of his identity. Louise could continue something that might otherwise have disappeared with him. But this is where careful wording becomes essential. Prince Philip's will was sealed by the court. The official judgment confirmed that it would remain protected for 90 years before any initial process could consider whether it should be opened. That means the public does not possess a complete list of his beneficiaries. We cannot read the legal language. We cannot independently verify whether every object described online was transferred through his will, through an earlier gift, or through another family arrangement. The carriage connection appears genuine. The exact inheritance terms remain private. And when Queen Elizabeth II died in September 2022, the privacy surrounding royal possessions became even more complicated. The public saw the constitutional transition immediately. Charles became king. William became the heir, and Duke of Cornwall, Balmoral and Sandringham remained associated with the monarch as privately owned royal estates. But that did not mean the public received a detailed inventory of every brooch, photograph, horse-related object, handwritten note and family possession owned personally by the late Queen. No complete list was released. No public document stated that Lady Louise had received a large collection of secret treasures, and no authenticated palace record described Camilla's children objecting to the distribution. This absence of evidence does not prove Louise received nothing. She may have been given meaningful personal items before the Queen died. She may have received something privately afterward. Other grandchildren may also have received objects the public knows nothing about. But possibility cannot be narrated as confirmation. The viral version often begins by saying Louise inherited the Queen's private equestrian collection. That phrase sounds specific. But what exactly does it include? A saddle? A photograph? Riding equipment? A piece of jewelry? Documents connected to the Queen's ponies? Without an inventory, the phrase can mean almost anything, and that vagueness allows the story to become larger with each retelling. One video says Louise received a few sentimental objects. The next calls them royal treasures. Another describes an entire secret inheritance. Soon, the audience is told that Queen Elizabeth made a deliberate declaration about the future of the monarchy. But none of those conclusions can be verified from a public will or palace statement. Then, Queen Camilla's family is introduced. Camilla has 2 children from her first marriage, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. They are part of the King and Queen's family life. Their children participated in the 2023 coronation, with members of Camilla's family serving as pages of honor. But Tom and Laura are not members of the royal family in a constitutional or working sense. They hold no royal titles. They do not represent the king. They are not in the line of succession, and they have never publicly claimed an entitlement to Queen Elizabeth II's private possessions. That distinction does not mean they are unloved. It does not mean Charles excludes them from family life. It simply means their relationship with the monarchy comes through Camilla's marriage, not through descent from Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. The online story turns that ordinary legal and family distinction into humiliation. Louise receives a carriage, and Camilla's children are portrayed as angry. Louise spends time at Balmoral, and Camilla's grandchildren are portrayed as outsiders. Sophie was reportedly close to the Queen, so Camilla is placed in competition with her. But no reliable evidence has established that this competition exists. No named family member has complained. No credible palace source has produced details of a confrontation, and no public inheritance dispute has been filed. The supposed fury is used because the story needs conflict. A granddaughter continuing her grandfather's sport is touching. A granddaughter secretly defeating the Queen's family in an inheritance battle is viral. Those are 2 very different stories. There is also a factual problem with the way royal wealth is often described. Not every royal residence or jewel belongs to an individual in the same way an ordinary house or necklace might. The Crown Estate is not the King's personal property. The royal collection includes objects held by the sovereign for successors and the nation. The Duchy of Cornwall is an estate that provides income for the Duke of Cornwall and his family. Highgrove is part of that duchy estate and remains King Charles's Gloucestershire home. It was not simply handed to William as an ordinary personal inheritance. Private possessions are different. A personally owned object can potentially be gifted or inherited, but the public must first know that the object was privately owned and then know how it was transferred. With many royal heirlooms, neither detail is completely transparent. That is why confident inheritance stories should be treated cautiously. Louise's current life also complicates the claim that she has already been selected as the monarchy's secret future weapon. In July 2026, she graduated from St. Andrews after completing her degree. She appeared at the ceremony as Louise Mountbatten Windsor alongside her parents, without presenting herself as a working princess beginning official royal duties. Recent reporting suggests she intends to take time before deciding on her longer-term path. She has explored university military training, carriage driving, and ordinary work experience, but no official announcement has made her a full-time working royal. That future remains open. The monarchy may eventually need younger people to support William. Prince Harry no longer carries out duties as a working royal. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have private careers. Louise and James belong to a generation that could theoretically provide support if the king and future king wanted them to. But there is no automatic process. Being well-liked does not create an official role. Receiving a family heirloom does not create a royal appointment. And being Queen Elizabeth's granddaughter does not guarantee that Louise will one day represent the crown. She could choose military service. She could pursue diplomacy, law, literature, or another private career. She could continue attending family events without joining the working institution. Or her role could gradually change. The honest answer is that no one outside the family yet knows. And perhaps that uncertainty is the real reason audiences are so fascinated by her. Louise represents an unusual possibility. She possesses royal blood without carrying a heavily public royal identity. She is connected to Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip without being trapped inside the most controversial parts of the monarchy. She can appear at Windsor one week and return to ordinary responsibilities the next. She does not dominate headlines. She does not release dramatic interviews. She has not built a public brand around conflict. In a family repeatedly shaken by publicity, quietness itself can begin to look like power. But the strongest legacy Louise received may not be hidden jewelry or a secret estate. It may be something far less dramatic. Prince Philip gave her knowledge of a sport he loved. The Queen gave her access to family traditions and places that shaped her childhood. Her parents gave her the chance to develop an identity outside full-time royal duty. And Louise has so far protected those gifts by living without turning every connection into a public performance. That is a real inheritance. It does not require Camilla's family to lose. It does not require a favorite grandchild contest. And it does not require an anonymous palace source explaining private anger no one has independently confirmed. The carriage exists. The shared passion existed. Louise's close family connection existed. The secret collection, the furious confrontation, and the deliberate rejection of Camilla's family remain unverified. So the final question is not whether Queen Elizabeth secretly chose Louise over everyone else. The deeper question is why royal inheritance stories are always turned into a battle. Why must one granddaughter's relationship with her grandparents become another woman's humiliation? Why must a sentimental object become proof of legitimacy? And why is quiet family affection treated as though it were a constitutional decision? Lady Louise may still play an important role in the monarchy's future, but she does not need a fictional inheritance war to make her story significant. At 22, her real future has only just begun, and perhaps the most powerful thing about her is that, unlike the rumors surrounding her, she has not yet tried to tell the world exactly what that future must be. Do you believe Lady Louise will eventually become a working royal, or should she continue building an independent life outside the institution? Share your opinion in the comments, and subscribe for more royal documentaries that remain dramatic and revealing without presenting private speculation as confirmed fact.